Hello, beautiful people. Good to see you. If you are watching this part two on the specific learning disorders, then it means you really want to know more about learning and how some learners have difficulty appreciating lessons they are being taught. In the first part of this video, which had to do with specific learning disabilities, I shared on dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dyspraxia. In this second part, touching on specific learning difficulties, I would go into details talking about conditions like autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, commonly referred to as ADHD, and then I would add another one which is known as the Island syndrome. Okay, so what are these conditions and how do they impact the learning of learners? So autism, as I've already explained, is a difficulty in relating to and communicating with other people. So any learner with this learning difficulty finds it very difficult to socialize or bond with other people and then share community with them. So often a child with autism may lack interest in other people. They enjoy being in their own world and they don't even like change. They are very conservative and they are used to the routines they know. They don't like to change things and they often have difficulty learning to even talk. They would prefer doing things the same way. Difficulty with speech and sticking to what they know and doing it the same way. In the same manner, they won't even want to change routes when they are used to a particular route. They would prefer using the same every time. And they find it very difficult to even use or understand gestures that people use. So, come, go, and other gestures are very difficult for them to decipher what each gesture means and how to apply same. So essentially most learners facing this learning disability called autism live in their own world, understand things in their own way, do things the same way they like it, and wouldn't change it for anything. So what can you do if you're a parent or a child or a teacher and your child has this learning difficulty? You might want to use clear routines since they don't like change and they like to do things the same way. You might want to be very specific and clear about that. It helps them to recall and do things the way they would appreciate it. You might want to use pictures or drawing of the activities you want them to do so that they are able to see and appreciate what is done now and what will be done next. It is a good way to keep them focused. Another thing is you should try and use a lot of drawings or pictures when you are giving them instructions. So when they recall what they see from the drawings or the pictures, it helps them to follow through and execute or carry out the instructions you are giving them. If possible, have them always rehearse and repeat the things you want them to do. So as you give them instructions, ask them to say it back to you. So once it goes down well with them, it becomes easier for them to act on the instructions and inform them ahead of time of any change you want to bring. Once you conscientize them or precondition them for the change, they may slowly adapt and then adjust when you finally roll out the change. So that is that on autism, which is a specific learning disability. The next one we'll be tackling is the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, commonly referred to as ADD or ADHD. And this is an inability to concentrate well or pay attention and to control behavior. So if a child has this, it is very difficult for them to pay attention in class. Chances are they would have problems with paying attention in class, and they may act without thinking because they are unable to control their behaviors. Anything that comes to mind at the spur of the moment, they do it even before they know it, and they cannot sit still. They are always agitating and acting up. Don't forget the condition is known as attention deficit hyperactivity. Hyperactivity simply means that such a learner is very active, as in hyper means high, and then active, high levels of activity. So they are always active, and they are moving, and they are talking and doing all the things that takes the attention off what is being taught. So as a result of this, they can be very disorganized. They can be very disorganized, and they can be very playful. And you might want to keep an eye on them whilst teaching them as a parent or as a teacher. So if your child has this disorder, this learning difficulty known as attention deficit hyperactivity, what do you do to help such a child? First and foremost, you might want to let the child sit near you when you are helping them with homework at home or they are learning, so you can pay attention to them and help them. In class, you might want them to be closer to the teacher, so the teacher keeps an eye on them and help them with certain tasks. If possible, you should give them instruction one at a time, as in they are unable to pay attention and process a lot of information. You might want to give them instruction one at a time, and you should learn to maintain eye contact when you are giving them instruction. It helps them to know you are focusing on them and they are also keeping their eye on you, and that helps them to know how serious what you are saying is to you and to them. And you should provide them a place so they do their homework or their schoolwork without any distractions. If possible, don't allow such a child to be doing their homework in front of the TV or sit by the window or anything that distracts their attention. They may easily lose it. So if possible, help them by staying close so they can focus, and help them play sports. It is a good way to channel their hyperactivity or their active level of doing things. Help them do some of these and they will do well whilst learning. So that is the bit on attention deficit. So the third learning difficulty I would like to touch on, which I didn't mention earlier but want to now, is island syndrome. I kept it for the last because it's the best, not among the rest, but it is something very new and very uncommon that you might want to know. So the island syndrome simply has to do with having problems with how the brain interprets text, written text. So any material in a book or a paper or on a page, on a board, on a screen, the text that one sees, if they have this learning difficulty, they may not be able to interpret it well. This is because a learner with this problem often sees what is on the paper or in the book or on the screen. But the problem is that the words that they see on the screen or the page seems to be moving. The words seem to be flickering. They seem to be slipping off or they are moving in and out of focus, and it makes it difficult for them to concentrate or appreciate what is on the page. So this learning difficulty, the island syndrome, makes children very, very vulnerable to learning because they wouldn't even see it clearly, let alone to appreciate it, and hence they are unable to read it. For children like this, they do not like bright or dark conditions. They don't like any high contrast things, whereby the thing is very bright or very dark. It strains their eyes, and as a result of that, they may even have headaches focusing on the screen or a bright paper, glossy paper, and that in the end, they only see a few letters on the page. So ultimately, it impacts the appreciation of what is on the pages and even how to read it. So if a child has this condition, what do? There isn't much, but let me suggest this. Do not let such a child read directly under very bright light. It impacts on them, and the words will be dancing, moving in and out of focus, and they may not be able to see it well. Their eyes might hurt, and they may even have to strain it or have a headache. And then, if possible, seek a specialist help to get all colored overlays to help the child read well. If a specialist examines them, they may be able to provide solution to help them. So these are the learning difficulties that learners often face, and if not tackled, it might affect their learning and appreciation of lessons. It's been quite a lengthy or long video, but I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, to comment, to share, and to subscribe to the channel. See you. I remain Gamel.